hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Spiritual Handyman Internet TV show. We're so excited to have you with us. We have the amazing Kandy Graves with us today, and she is going to be talking to us about subconscious programming and how it happens and what we can do about it. So this is a really exciting episode. Reminding everybody out there that you can find us on YouTube. You can also find us at thespiritualhandyman.com. On Instagram, you can follow us there. And please take the time to like and comment and share and pass along any of this information that you think might be relevant to other folks. We're always looking to build our community, so subscribing to our YouTube channel is a huge part of that. So we thank you for your participation. So let's get to the goods today, and I'd like to introduce you to a dear friend and colleague. This is Kandy Graves. She is a pattern-breaking energy therapist. And when I say pattern-breaking, I mean, it's over, it's gone, it's new. She assists her clients with the subconscious reprogramming, the things that we tend to struggle with, the cycles that we have. She's the creator and teacher of As You Think You Are, and she really helps clients with immediate change in their lives. And I'll let Kandy expand more on what it is that she does and how she does it and share a little bit of her story. So Kandy, welcome. Tell the people a little bit about yourself, please.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. You said, when you said immediate change, I thought, oh, wow. If only like 35 years ago when I started this journey that I could have hooked up with someone that could have provided me immediate change. I would have signed up for that.
You know, I'm about to sign up for it now. I can still use it. So, well, you just go ahead and keep doing it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would seriously have signed up. So I can provide immediate change for you because of the journey that I've been on for, seriously for the whole of my life. So you're welcome. I'll just say that initially. So yeah, just a quick little story about a backstory. And this pretty well cuts to the chase and gives you use your imagination. So I was born addicted to a drug addict mom. She didn't look like one though. She was very high functioning. She actually retired from a job that she held for 35 years, which that doesn't, not every addict can say that. So she was very, very high functioning, but that doesn't mean that that everything that goes along with addiction we certainly had in our home, other than homelessness and that sort of thing, because she was high functioning. So that just comes with it, and an incredible amount and set of challenges. And I really truly just have this little inkling, kind of a I was always aware of it growing up, but I didn't know what it was until much later in my life. But this low-level, low-lying, just kind of a knowing that God was in my life and leading me and guiding me and directing me and basically, just cheering me on. And I recognize that as God. And so I just kept plugging away, getting the pattern totally imprinted on me, which every single one of us, there's absolutely no way we can get around that. We all have a pattern imprinted on us. And it's impossible to not experience that, because we're little sponges as children, and we get this, this programming that onto us that happened to our parents and their parents and their parents. And, when we know better, we do better. And I was constantly looking. I would say there was this just innate drive I had to absolutely look for a solution to my unhappiness. So That's my basic backstory.
Well, thanks for sharing that part of your
Yeah.
journey with us. So what you're telling us is that the programming that we have is pretty much unavoidable.
Yeah, but only 100% of the time.
Oh, phew. That is such a relief.
Yeah, it's totally unavoidable.
Okay, well, that's enough information. Show over. Great job.
Right? We're
Thanks
done.
for joining us, Kandy.
Yeah, the problem though, the problem is that most of us, so the Buddha was asked, how do you raise an enlightened child? Which an enlightened child would be happy and well-rounded, well-adjusted, and knows their goals and gets after it and gets it done, right? So enlightened. How do you raise an enlightened child? And the Buddha said, with an enlightened mother. And I was not that. My mother certainly was not that, and there just isn't any of those. Maybe some of us are more enlightened than others, for sure. I'd like to think I'm a much better grandmother than I was a mother. In fact, I know I was.
Well, that part makes sense. I have a grand kitty, but I have no grandbabies yet, so I haven't quite crossed that threshold. Though I welcome it when it does happen because I get to spoil them and give them back. That part sounds like a lot of fun to me.
It is.
So if 100% of us, 100% of the time, get this programming, help us understand how that happens, Kandy. Like, what is what's the juice there?
Right. So, when I first started in this work years ago, there was no science to back up what I was saying. All I knew is that the techniques and tricks and tips that I was voraciously looking for and integrating into my life and using for healing, I just knew that I was seeking after those things, and I wasn't sure. I wasn't, I didn't know what I didn't know. So your question for me was how does that happen, right? And the science behind it. Today it's so exciting because quantum physics and epigenetics teaches us and tells us everything that I just sort of inherently knew and was seeking after and utilizing. So today I can actually explain it in a scientific way. A layman's version of a scientific way.
Oh, phew, thank you.
Yeah, for me too. So essentially, we are cooked in energy soup. I like to use that analogy because think about, you put a pot of water on the stove, and then you put those really hard root vegetables into it, right? So you've got potatoes, carrots, turnips, whatever, and you've got them in the water, and then you throw in all of your seasonings, your herbs, and whatever you want to infuse the vegetables with. You turn up the heat, and then it cooks, and those vegetables become very soft, and then they take on the seasoning that's in the water. They become infused with that, and that is exactly how we are programmed. So the energy soup is quite literally, our thoughts are actually matter. They are, you can't see them, but they have consistency. They have weight to them. And you know this. Think about the last time you walked into a room with someone and you were like, the energy in here feels terrible. You could tell that someone's angry or whatever, right? And so it's that same idea. So you grow up, and your infused with the seasonings in that household, which those seasonings are the patterns that my mother brought into my parents' marriage, and then my dad's patterns that he brought in, both of them being fully infused or cooked in the energy soup that their parents provided, and their parents and their parents and their parents, right? And it goes on and on. And the most exciting thing for me is that I knew that all of the healing that I did, I knew that it was benefiting my children and grandchildren. I knew it was going this direction. What I didn't know and hoped was that it was also going back. And I'll tell you, I've had 20 years of doing this work. And in those 20 years, I can honestly tell you that when I work with particular people, there's standing room only in the room. And what I mean by that is those ancestors often show up to sometimes assist, but they also benefit from the healing work that this physical person in front of me is participating in. It's a very, I'm honored by it. It's a humbling experience, and I get goosebumps. I don't tell clients that often, but there have been, several clients through the years that will say, okay, I just had this distinct impression that my grandmother is here or whatever, and I'm over here going, yep, absolutely. Yeah, so it's fascinating and wonderful and exciting to me that we actually, when I take responsibility today and have healed the stuff that got put on me, it goes both directions. So not only are my children and my grandchildren going to benefit, and already have benefited, by the way, but, my mother, who passed away in 2002, never really getting any sobriety at all, is benefiting from the work that I'm doing as well. So that's good stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. It's all about the energy around us, like you said, and
Yes.
and kind of picking up on those things, but you're really tapping into the ancestral patterns and the ripples that go forward. So the benefit, like you said, is multi-generational. So you're by healing yourself, you're helping so many others. That really is that's powerful information. And in our community, that is something that people go, yes, thank you. And in other communities, it's kind of like, I'm not quite sure what that means, but our folks really identify and connect with that. So thank you for including that aspect to it.
So a little more science on that, so that anybody that's listening that might be going, yeah, sure, right. And I came from a very Western medicine framework, right? My mom, doctors were gods for my mother, as you might imagine, because she was a prescription pill addict. So she needed to convince those doctors that she was ill and she really needed what they had to give her. And so coming from that Western medicine, I was always a little bit like, kind of nervous about this whole Western stuff. But I was so desperate to try, because the very last thing I wanted to do was get onto the very same medicines that my mom ultimately used and abused. It was just not going to happen. I was not going to do that. And so I honestly had to open my mind and expand into this whole Eastern idea. And so we're all familiar with the EEG, right? Which is the electroencephalogram, which is how they measure brain waves. And scientists have developed what's called an MEG, which is a magnetoencephalogram, and it actually measures the energy field outside of the body. And essentially, what's going on the EEG is also showing up in the magnetic field around us. So it is the auric field, or the aura, that is also displaying the very issues and problems that we're having, that have always been tracked exclusively inside the brain. So a molecular biologist, Dr. Bruce Lipton, is known for studying and understanding epigenetics and quantum physics, and he's the one that's sharing that information. And the Institute of Heart Math, which I'm very excited to be going and doing some training here soon, has proven a lot of these things. So, for example, we have traumas, right? We all do, and to varying degrees. And sometimes, you know, we could call it PTSD, where it's actually post-traumatic stress, in that we've had this trauma and then we don't function normally after the fact. That's the disorder, right? It's post-trauma and we're not functioning properly. And so those traumas literally scientists have found in brain mapping, they can see these markers on the brain, on the neural pathway in the brain, and they're emitting a frequency, like sending out a broadcast. So Dr. Lipton, I love this example. He uses, so if you have two guitars and they are both, or you take one guitar and you tune them both, right? But you pluck the A string on guitar 1, the A string on guitar 2 also vibrates and emits the frequency. And why is that? Well, it's because they're both tuned in to the same frequency. So I've worked in the past with women that have survived rape. And one woman in the room that I worked with, she was showing back up to this support group after the 3rd rape. And you know, in my mind, and what happened for me is, you know, I've never been, and I probably never will, because I'm not tuned to that frequency. And I'm not saying that we're responsible in terms of, you know, we're not responsible for what other people do, but we certainly, if I have this heightened fear of anything, whatever it is, that can be picked up on, or that vibration or that frequency can be picked up on, right? So a person that's walking with all sorts of, you know, strength, and, you know, their head held up high, and they're walking down the street, and, you know, they've got a lot of, you know, backbone. You can just tell that they're holding themselves really strongly, versus a person that's, you know, crouched and living in fear. Perpetrators smell fear. They know who the quote, the best and easiest target is. And all of that is frequency. All of that is based on the beliefs. So our thoughts, or words in the form of thoughts, create our beliefs. And those things, those beliefs actually get sent out into the world. There's a broadcast. And the people in the world that are tuned into that frequency, they're the ones that are going to show up. And that's why it's so important to step back and take a look at your patterns and go, oh my gosh, okay, this keeps showing up. Case in point, I have a current client who, she's, before coming to me, she's like, oh my goodness, I need some help. I've got 4 divorces behind me, and every single one of those men were abusive. And she's like, I think it might be me. And I'm like, thank goodness, right? Not that she wanted those things by any stretch of the imagination, but it's based on the energy soup she grew up in. It was what she was infused with. And quite literally, for me to not have become a drug addict is really truly nothing short of a miracle. And I really truly believe that a big part of that was because of this, because I watched it and was so taken back by it. I produced drug addicts. I have 3 sons, 2 of which are alcoholics, both in recovery, I must say, which I'm thrilled about. 4 years and 9 years, almost 4 years this month, and 9 years. And so they're turning the tide. They're changing that particular generational pattern that is alive and well in my family line. So that's a little bit of the science behind it. It's actually, when you understand that, I have a client recently that said to me, so every single solitary thing I'm responsible for, and I said, let's just look at it like this. If you can take responsibility for it, then it doesn't have power over you. So take responsibility. Not that you created it, not that it's your fault, not that you have to, resonate in shame and fear and guilt. No, but if it's showing up, then take a look at it, take whatever responsibility you can, and then that enables you to move forward. Because when we blame, think of the word blame, B-L-A-M-E, we be lame. And what they do to a horse that's lame, Jason?
Well, that's not a pleasant answer.
Yeah, right?
That doesn't end well. Let's just say that.
It doesn't end well. And so we really are stuck. We can't move forward when we're in blame. So just taking accountability and responsibility. Now, as the pendulum swings, right, we have polarity. When I first started into recovery, well, even before recovery, I was this hyper responsible person. I'm the one you wanted to sign up to be on a committee, trust me, because I could get it done, right? And as a mother, I thought a good mother truly does work herself out of a job. And I was doing the opposite. And because I was doting, I was that doting mother, and I was a stay-at-home mom. So that meant that my children and their activities and their life was my life. And, not that stay-at-home, not that staying at home with children isn't a noble and wonderful calling. It is, and I highly recommend it, but be as independent of a person as you possibly can. Have interests, have passions, and show your children those passions. So anyway, I became over responsible, right? And was taking responsibility for these kids, and it doesn't go well when that happens. And ultimately, I pulled my energy back, owned my energy 100%, took accountability and responsibility, and then watched just my entire life transform.
So let me just recap a little bit, because I'm picking out the tools that you've shared with us. The first of those is recognizing that the programming is not something that we could really avoid. It's just part of the gig here, right?
It is.
The second thing is that taking responsibility and accountability for what's happening in your life is the key the first key, the awareness key to recognizing the patterns and also taking back the power in those things, because if you own it, then someone else isn't in a place to have that energy over you. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so basically what you just explained is codependency, right? It's if you consider a triangle, right? And on the base of the triangle is dependence. It's the lowest part of that triangle. On the side is independence. At the top of the triangle is interdependence, which is the goal, which is me and God. If the closer to the top of the triangle I get, that's my relationship with God. I really have, if I'm going this direction and not this direction, then I'm headed in the right direction, right? I think of that. I believe it's a scripture that says, "An eye single to the glory of God." And so if my eye is set there, then I'm looking in the right place. The problem was I rarely looked up. I was always looking out here, right? And so that if I'm looking up and that's where my focus is, then that allows my energy to stay clean. And I'm now on my side of the triangle, because this is independence on the sides of the triangle. As I work my way up toward the top and I'm in relationship with someone else and they're doing the same thing, now we have an opportunity to come together at the top of the triangle in interdependence, which when you draw a circle and attach all three corners of the triangle, you've got God at the top and then the two individuals. Now you have a relationship that's founded and it's in interdependence, which is the most powerful place to be. And we do that. Oh, and by the way, in the middle of the triangle is codependence, which is where if I'm here on the side of the triangle and I'm working my program, I'm doing my, taking my responsibility and accountability. And the second I decide, oh, that looks interesting, I'm going to go over there and see what Jason's got that I can help with. Quote, help with. Now I've lost my footing. My eye is not single anymore, and now my energy is in your energy, and it can be messy. Not just can be messy. It's messy.
Right. It's kind of about keeping your own side of the street clean, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you've got a number of different programs and activities and things that people
Yes.
can connect to. So for folks that are working on these kind of things that want to know more about you or get in contact with you, share with them how they can do that.
Okay. So the website is AsYouThinkYouAre.com. You can reach out to me and just fill out a contact form if you want to there. You can read a little bit more on the website as well. It's very involved. There's lots of places to go and things to read, so that's interesting if you like that sort of thing. And then, or you can just email me at quantumcoachkandy, and it is Kandy with a K, so it's QUANTUM coach KANDY @gmail. And I have a free offering right now. I've written an ebook. It's called Mirrors, and it's a powerful process that I initiate with clients, and it helps them begin to really dig in and take deep responsibility. You're able to see ways when you work the Mirrors program and read the ebook on Mirrors, you'll be able to immediately begin to see where you might be projecting, and you might be actually in somebody else's energy and their business. And this really facilitates bringing it back here, owning your own energy, and really looking at ways in which you can take full accountability and responsibility where you might be surprised that you were not doing that prior. So
Excellent. Excellent. That sounds like the logical next step for someone that maybe
Yeah,
connects with what we've talked about today and has some work to do in those places and is ready to take that accountability and to take that next step. So you can reach out to Kandy through AsYouThinkYouAre.com. You
yeah.
can also email her directly at quantumcoachkandy with a Kandy at gmail.com. And as always, that information will be down in the description of the video and available to you. So all you have to do is click on it and take the next step right away. And Kandy, thank you so much for sharing your journey and the tools that you've come across in helping yourself and helping others, and sharing those things with our community today.
I'm thrilled. Thank you so much, Jason, for having me.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. We're going to see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for watching, listening. Please subscribe, comment, like, share, and most certainly click the buttons for the subscribe so that you know when the new episodes are coming up for the Spiritual Handyman. We'll see you folks next time around. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
The Spiritual Handyman, bringing spiritual tools to the hands of the people who need them. Sponsored by the Eagle Heart Foundation. The Eagle Heart Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that brings charitable contributions and educational enhancements to the people. So how can you be a part of the Spiritual Handyman and the Eagle Heart Foundation? The Triple Win Situation. This book was written by Granddaughter Crow, and half of the proceeds go to the Eagle Heart Foundation, which in turn sponsors the Spiritual Handyman. How to get it one? It's on Amazon and Kindle for only $9.99. So we are here to bring tools to you. Thank you so much, Spiritual Handyman. We believe in what you do.